Yeah, yeah.
There you go.
See, yeah, now it is.
Yeah, you want to continue, Sagar?
Good evening. It's quite a pleasant evening. And what? Yeah, Dinakar, I'm continuing.
Yeah, sure. Go on.
Dinakar, can you hear me?
Yeah, very much.
Okay. Okay. Good evening, all. It's a pleasant evening. And what makes it more pleasant is we've got an opportunity today to hear from the master himself. Welcome to Sit Chat. Before we go ahead and know what Sit Chat is, let's understand what is SIT, that is SIT. Startup Ignition Team is an voluntary organization what we have formed among ourselves. It's a community more than an organization. It's a community to help startups, the ecosystems, mentors, startup companies, consumers, collaborators. This is what happens in SIT. And among that is one initiative called as Thursday Evening Sit Chat. This is a brainchild of Mr. Dinakar Murthy. And today it's our luck that Dinakar Murthy himself is the speaker. What do we do during these sit chats? Is we basically discuss among various topics like you can see on the screen, right from scaling up of the business to preparing for powerful pitch decks, organization infrastructures, investments, business planning, HR activities, human capital, etc. Among that, we share a peer knowledge, a common knowledge. What is that? Expert gives us. That is what happens through sit chat. Dinakar, can you move to the next slide?
Yeah.
Okay, and okay, so what we also do, Dinakar, the next one. Before we move on to today's topic, okay, let me just give you a disclaimer that all the knowledge that is shared by the experts here are purely for our academic purpose for knowledge improvement only. And you are supposed to do your own due diligence and at your discretion before availing services of the speaker. Now, with that, I welcome Mr. Dinakar Murthy Krishna. Now, I have got this pride in welcoming Dinakar for a simple reason that I'm one of those very privileged ones who have got a mentor like Dinakar. Now, what I admire more of Dinakar is he is that person who always strives for excellence. And he just not preaches, but he practices. And that is what inspires pedigree like me, okay, to be his protege. That is something that what I have learned from him. And he has molded probably more people like me, and I'm sure all of them are lucky like me. Today we have got Dinakar to speak about execution excellence, the do-how of execution excellence. He always says to us, there can be thousands of ideas, but if you are not executing even one idea of that well, what's the use of thousands of idea? That is what Dinakar is. Before I throw open this dais to Dinakar, let me introduce myself. My name is Sagar Maudgal, and along with being a protege to Dinakar, along with being a mentee to Dinakar, I'm also founder of two startups. One is into architectural design services, that is called Creatrix Design Studio, along with architect Supriya, who is the co-founder of that. And my other startup, I am a recruiter for manufacturing practices. So these are the two organizations that I have, firms that I have. Now, Dinakar comes with over 2.5 decades experience working with Bosch, and he moved out of Bosch when he was vice president in operations. And what we see, many of the best practices of Bosch, Dinakar has got major role in that. And post that, he worked as a president with the Total Environment. And later he's where he realized the world, and he created a company, founded a company called as Samuthána Consulting and Coaching. And his innovation is what you see behind him, called as doHow. That is the execution excellence. There is one slogan what Dinakar has inspired me. He says, I am here to create world-class companies and exceptional leaders. And I am one in the making, and I'm sure with this, there'll be many in the making. Open to you, Dinakar. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Sagar, for such a flamboyant introduction. It was very, what should I say, exciting and at the same time quite impressive. So let me now first share my presentation. I made a presentation. It's a little long. So please bear with me. Maybe I take about 20-25 minutes, and after that we can have a quick Q&A. What I thought here was to really give you a full overview of what I've been doing and what doHow is all about. What is this execution excellence? See, I would start with my background and then briefly share the journey so far. And from the journey, identify the common challenges for execution excellence. Then speak about mindset and culture, which is the core of doHow. Then the why, what, and how. And finally, our value proposition and content. And in case any question is there, please note down so that we can discuss that at the end of the presentation. First, a very quick background. Sagar already spoke about me. I was in 3 continents and various roles. I performed in multiple hierarchy levels. And now I've been working with multiple companies in terms of a consultant and coach, mentor, etc. During this time, we have worked with multiple companies. In fact, Sagar also is part of our team. He is the client engagement partner, apart from the others who are also on the team. We basically have been serving various companies, small, medium, large, multinational, in all areas of business, creating a significant financial impact within about 6 months' time. And this is some kind of a transformation because whatever practices we have introduced have been sustainable, and they have sustained that. And many of the clients have been repeat customers. Most of the clients have been repeat customers for us the last 10 years. Now, let me first start by telling, based on all this experience, I created what I call as a smart lean performance system. This is a snapshot of what it is. And in this area, I identified that there are totally 5 common challenges which we have seen in all the companies. And to address that, I created this system, which covers from creating a vision to making it a reality. And this is a cyclic activity because every time you create a vision, make it a reality, go back to the vision again. And it's a cyclic activity on an annual basis. And in this, with this background, the challenges that I identified are basically 5. First one is common understanding. That means the top leadership team should have a common understanding of the strategy, of the current reality, and whatever that existed in that company. What you see on the right side is the number of companies. We have an assessment which is done very quickly. In the assessment, the reason or the weakest link in that company is identified. And as per that, their own identification, the weakest link in this case was common understanding for maybe about 50% or 5% of the companies. And what you see in the color here is the dark blue is MNC, and the light middle blue is large, and the even lighter blue is MSME. Similarly, on the right side, this is the need that was assessed, and later what actually we worked on. There, the large one, dark green is MNC, large and MSME again. And if you can see, the common understanding was not at all a problem. Everybody said, we know everything. But in reality, when you start digging and finding out why are you doing this, then his reason for doing something is totally different than the reason of somebody else. When that conflict is there, then there is no execution possible at all. In the sense, excellence is not possible. They are working for the sake of working. They go in the morning, punch in, punch out, 2 lunch, 2 punch and 1 lunch and come out. That's all. That kind of a passion is not there. So the first one was missing of common understanding. Then inclusive strategy development. See, earlier days, strategy could be done by the top management and bulldozed through the organization. Whereas in today's world, when people know so much amount of information, involving everybody is extremely important for commitment and for ownership to execute the strategy. Then the classic one in the Indian context especially is to plan without any buffer. When I say plan without any buffer, imagine our sales target for this month is 100 crores and our actions, whatever we have done, will be only for 100 crores. So when I have done only for 100 crores, it is impossible that I achieve 100 crores. I must have a buffer in the plan. That means when I try to plan for 100, when my target is 100 crores, I have to plan for 150 crores or 120 crores, depending on the amount of volatility in the market. Only then can I achieve 100 crores. That is again another area which is a common problem, common challenge. Then monitoring and reviewing. This is extremely weak in the Indian context in comparison to evolved economies like Germany, Japan, China, South Korea, where or entire Europe, even France, where the monitoring and reviewing is very, very tough, very strong. And this again is very, very strong in all the multinational companies in India with the foreign origin, or those companies which have some kind of a connect with either Germany or Japan. In that case also, this monitoring and reviewing is strong in the Indian companies. Otherwise, all the other companies, the majority of the ones in India, I would easily say more than 98, 99% of the companies, this is extremely weak. We think that once you are told somebody will do it and there's no need for checking and reviewing and monitoring. Last one is the problem solving and dialogue. Problem solving is for doing the technical, rational problem solving, and dialogue is for the people problems. Now, if you see, these five have been the common challenges which we have faced in all these industries. What you see at the bottom are all the industries we have worked so far. Aerospace, construction, gifting, farming, then electronic manufacturing services, etc., etc., etc. Now, with this, I go to the next detailed explanation of what we have been doing and then conclude a little while later. First, in terms of common understanding, what do we do? I have developed a model called as chakra. This chakra is something which is analogical to the human body, which has totally 7 chakras: rhythm, continuity, top down, bottom up, progress, growth, and success chakra. And somebody said I need to invert it in terms of the sequence. I wrote it down like this because I felt it's important to start with the rhythm chakra at the top, but actually it is the other way around, success chakra at the top. The rhythm chakra is something like our Muladhara chakra, the bottommost chakra in our human body, which is basically for the pure existence. Let me take the startup chakra as an example. For the existence, the most important thing is to provide a solution to the market. What you see in the center here, it's a market-to-market flow of providing a solution. And the continuity chakra is the market-to-market flow of providing an investment or revenue for the startup. So these two are extremely important. If the continuity, robust chakra, the rhythm chakra is for the foundation, and the continuity chakra is for livelihood. In the case of the human body, that is the chakra which governs progeny, reproduction, etc. So if you look at it, the chakra built up is in the same way as what I have done here in the human body. Okay? Then you have got the top-down chakra and the bottom-up chakra. In this case, the top-down would be to give an order to the partner to execute something. And the bottom-up would be the order delivering that, the partner delivering that particular order, which is top-down and bottom-up. And then in the case of the last 2 chakras, which is the progress chakra and the growth chakra, which is about improving the version to version. That means if you have got a startup idea or a product idea, service or a product idea, to create new versions very regularly. And from the new version which you have created, how do you learn? This concept I created for analyzing which is the weakest link in the organization. And based on this, the earlier slide is depicted, where the graph is shown. And finally, success chakra, which has a lot to do with mindset and culture. So we do this analysis, and in about 2 hours' time, we do individual assessment, and after that, the team assessment and the company consensus assessment. It takes about 2 to 4 hours' time, depending on the size of the company, with as many participants as necessary. We can go up to 400, 200, 300, 100. There is no limit for that, because all these are digitally enabled. That means all the surveys are digitally done using their mobile phones. So there is no barrier as such in terms of speed of analysis and speed of assessment. Then when it comes to strategy development, here I have a very innovative methodology, which I call as the doHow game. In this case, we basically split the entire large team into smaller teams of 2, 3, or 4. The same logic is used for the assessment also. And once it is split into smaller teams, it If it is a face-to-face event, then there will be round tables with 2, 3, or 4 in each table. If it is a virtual session, then we do it with breakout rooms with 2 or 3 or 4. And then every continuously activities are given to them, and very, very quick activities. Each activity will last for about maybe a minute or two, or sometimes 5 minutes maximum, where the teams have to perform a particular task or an activity. This could be an individual activity or a group activity. When either of the activities perform, one of the players, I call them as players, one of the players performs the activity, which is basically to think, to really motivate them or instigate them or drive them to think. That is the only objective of this game. Then they have to basically sense and feel. The others who are listening should sense and feel, and they cannot dispute anything. They can say, yes, I have an agreement, not agreement, and so and so. They can build upon that and then think laterally for connection, generate insights, stay within their circle of influence. Here, the rule is that you cannot say that somebody else has to do some job. It is always my job, what I can do. I can only talk about that, and then note them down for reinforcement. This is the way it goes on. It's a very, very intense activity. These games we've been doing for various companies quite regularly. I will show you one example today, the multiple examples which you can see in detail. This company was having a huge problem in terms of meeting their sales target. I took sales as an example because something which is common. So here on this particular activity we did for a large FMCG company for their entire state level sales team of sales executives of about 35, 40 people were there. And each of these sales executives had sales representatives who would go to shop to book orders. So they were about 4 to 5 per sales executive. So totally we're talking about 300 to 400 people in that organization. So here again, smaller teams, each team will discuss and then talk about their idea, whatever they get. And then at the end of 2 hours, we conclude. The first one was investigate with attention to detail. Authorized person. See, they get a very interesting thing. They have got an app. Many of you who have worked in the FMCG or the pharma industry, you can imagine that. They give an app where you have to record what happened in that particular shop. In this case, the app that they had has one of the causes saying that authorized person is not available in the shop. Okay. When we did the Pareto analysis of that particular, of the reason why the sale was not done, this authorized person not available was the main cause. Okay. So it's not possible that every day in all the most of the shops, authorized persons are not available. That is not possible. So there's something much bigger behind that. So then they had to basically investigate with attention to detail, which is basically to investigate and identify the drivers which influence the sales representative to take this as a cause. You know, and that really sparks off ideas with them as to why is it that the authorized person is not there. You are in contact with them. Could you not call him up before going there? You know, so that they would start seeing in what ways they can reduce the reason as authorized person not in the shop, because this is a very good excuse for possibly not going to the shop at all. And once that is done, to alleviate the full tension, then we do a team game, team activity. In this case, it was rock, paper, and scissors. Or you do 1, 2, 3, 4. Whoever gets 4, and together, and when everyone gets 4, then they win. And then there is a sharing of the prize. So it's basically to see how homogeneous is the team, where they have a strategy. Sometimes they get a strategy saying that, look, every time we do, somebody shows a finger means that number you have to count. Everybody has to count that same number. So they also understand as to how we could succeed even in such small activities. This will take only about 5 minutes time. And once that is done, then again, an individual task for the next player. Now it is for player B. In this case, he got all these activities come up at random. And there is some algorithm which I have created, which makes sure that the energy levels in the room are very, very high. In one case, we ran the workshop for 3 consecutive days from on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And it was from 8 o'clock in the morning till 7 in the evening, because we want to give the best value for the customer. So we continuously do 8 to 7. And you can't believe that at 7 o'clock, people are very excited, extremely excited, not tired at all. Because every time you do this activity, some amount of dopamine is getting generated in your brain. And that is the one which is your excitement hormone. Therefore, energy levels are extremely high. So now the activity B is for the next player. Here, he says, look and identify the picture and tell us what you feel about this. When this picture came up, he said that, sir, two or three teams got this idea, sir. We are regularly going to them, and maybe we should once in a while buy some muskin jola and eat it with our customer. That means the retail shop owners, to really bond, to really make sure that he always has your name on the top of his mind. Because there is a need, he has to call you up, nobody else. And once that is done, then comes the next one. If and how this insight could be used for improving the sales. Again, it's a group activity. Group activities are mainly for concluding the ideas which you got during the individual activity. And then again, another individual activity. Explain how you are guaranteeing effective and smooth implementation of gathering relevant data. So this is an interesting thing. This app which I was talking about, this app, and this app was never being updated during the day. They would all talk about all kinds of reasons. The network is not there, or. But the company has given them a mobile, given them a SIM card with a very, very good speed connection. So network is not really a problem. Problem is their readiness to update the data. That is the problem. Because once you update it, then the sales executive will come to know how much amount of sale he has done, let us say at 12 o'clock in the afternoon. So based on that, he could push him to complete the sale by 6 in the evening. So this one, again, they start thinking, well, what kind of a data am I gathering? I'm not gathering any relevant data at all. So I can't decide. The sales executive is totally clueless. He's a frontline manager, but totally clueless as to how much amount of sales representatives have done. For that, he has to go on his bike from shop to shop to find out what they have done. Instead, through the technology, he can get his data updated. From this, they created what they call as a golden rule of telling that every day in the morning, we have to speak about some 4 topics to everybody as a standard pledge that they will update every half an hour. If it is not updated every half an hour, sales executive will call him up. And if it is not done 3 times, then there will be a penalty. Things of that kind. So that the data is up to date. And then automatically his decision making becomes easier. And after that, there is a group activity. Identify, refine experiences to create a wow feeling to your customer. What could be done? So this alternating individual and collective task will create a tremendous amount of energy and enthusiasm. This we do every 2 weeks for about 3 months. And so about 6 sessions we are done. In 6 sessions, they increase their sales. They were already always, for the last so many years, they could only meet 85% of the target. And since that session, they have been topping the country. That entire team is topping the country. They keep getting awards regularly. They keep sharing messages to me. They have been hitting more than 100% targets in the last 3 months. And the biggest thing which happened was, in any organization, sales organization, the sales executives are supposed to give a estimate as to how much will the month-end sale be by the 3rd week or something like that of the month, so that can be used for the cash flow planning. Earlier, the area manager said to constantly follow up. Once we did this workshop, they say that, even today when I speak to them, they say, sir, Nimkoskar, thanks a lot. We have never followed up anybody. They still continuously, they give it 24th of the month, they punctually tell what is the sale of this for this month, projected sale of the month, because they're confident. This is the way we go about doing the strategy development. Then when it comes to execution planning, the secret is only to put a buffer. Once you put the buffer, magic happens. Here, one of the standard tools that we have been using is what is called as a rolling plan, wherein you constantly are telling the life is very dynamic, market is dynamic. So there is no possibility of having a fixed plan. My boss in Germany used to say, a plan is made to fail. Or don't worry about making it perfect, but make a plan. Plan is something which gives everybody a direction. Concept of rolling planning is, today if I'm doing a daily plan, then I would first talk about yesterday's estimate. What was the estimate I did at 10 o'clock in the morning for the day? And what was the actual? The difference between the two is a learning for me. And for today, I will tell what is the estimate for today. And what is the plan for tomorrow, forecast for day after tomorrow, target for day after tomorrow. Similarly, every day at 4 o'clock, for example, I keep doing it, repeating it. When I do this, everybody in the organization is knowing what am I going to do 5 days from now, so that 3 days from now, so that they can prepare themselves. And at the same time, for ensuring constancy for operations, the estimate and the plan preferably should not be changed in case there is a market fluctuation, and the forecast and target can be changed. There is not a big problem at all, because you are doing on a monthly basis, weekly and daily basis. So this Entire planning happens in 3 different levels. And this is the secret of any large company. We have in smaller companies, it's really a huge problem to really do a plan. So this is something which we do for execution planning, one. And the second is to really put the buffer in the right place. This particular company was so much thrilled that his team had difficulty in accepting targets of inventory reduction, cost reduction, classical SEM targets. And after this activity which we did, they now have more confidence. They are very confident that they can go after any target. So they challenge the SEM head to give better targets. It's a different direction altogether. Instead of forcing somebody to work, they are asking for more work. So that's another example of execution planning. Then comes the monitoring and reviewing. Here it is very simple. We have a tool which is called as the doHow app. We'll talk about that later. Where various targets, that is a productivity improvement in one company. Then again, another company, productivity improvement. What I want to say is rejection reduction. Moment you visualize, there are a lot of management gurus who keep telling that, look, whatever that is not monitored is not, whatever that is not measured is not achieved. Whatever that you measure gets done. But that is only spoken, it's a kind of a lip service. But in reality, nobody does that. So once you do it in reality, it's a very simple existing common sense which works. The moment you start making it transparent, it comes down. Because nobody wants to fail. Everybody wants to succeed. Again, another case of non-conformance. So you daily, but the discipline is required for daily doing this kind of a report. That is what we do. Then problem solving is again another thing which we do. In this case, I have a maturity model similar to the EFQM, similar to the CAMM model. And here, first you identify all the causes for a particular effect, which is the problem. And for this, all the causes, try to see what is the level of maturity of each of the causes and try to increase the maturity level. Simple. Then the problem gets killed and it will become sustainable. This is again another thing which you have done for very complex problems, technical problems. And on the people problem, we do the one-on-one monitoring again using the app. App is used as a guide in this case. So here, for example, the various topics are listed and what is the discussion they did and what was the agreed upon learning. This is a kind of a mutual dialogue between the superior and the subordinate to really make sure that both of them are discussing on some kind of a learning. Because if you create learning culture in an organization, then there is no end to that organization. And to motivate people that they are really working fine, this is a live scoreboard from one of our assignments. So here we basically take the name and then define what is the process score, result score, and overall score. This basically is telling how consistently is that person performing and delivering results. That is the last one, which is what that ensures that whatever we do is being implemented. Now, till now, you must have felt that all the color slides are colorful, lot of mumbo jumbo, etc. Now, let me explain to why is it so. I take another 7 minutes possibly. First is, see, our mindset and culture needs to be changed. Otherwise, execution excellence will not happen. Because we are used to working in a certain way. Now we need to change and work in a different way. Therefore, change is required. For changing that, we need to change the mindset and culture. How do you change that? You need to create discussions and debates on contextual topics for changing the mindset and culture. It is an age-old practice. Long time ago in India, in Takshashila, in Sharada University, Nalanda University, or even in the south, Sri Shankaracharya, everybody, you see their life stories and their development and the way the societies existed, universities existed. One of the primary way of learning was debate. Not the kind of debate which happens on the television, where everybody gets a chance to express their opinion. And based on the opinion that you have expressed, you also have the chance to dispute somebody's opinion, counter it in a very, very professional, matured way. And that's the way learning used to happen in India, which is more or less forgotten today. And even in the college days, I remember the biggest learnings I had was talking about some subject. It could be as simple as the India match being played there, or it could be as simple, as complex as the Israel and Hamas war going on. You debate about that, talk about that, you learn. And that is something which is extremely essential. That's how you change the mindset and culture. So here, I want to share my understanding of why it happens. Our brain, first of all, captures all our experiences and their memories as emotions as memories. This happens very quickly. Even before you have seen, the brain has already captured. Sometime 10 years later, if somebody hypnotizes you, you can remember the presentation done by Dinakar and what kind of a slide and color he had used. And these memories, some are nice, some are neutral, and some are ugly. On the right side, there is an animation which later creates that particular infographic. And these memories which you have got, it is there. And because of those memories, we create a filter. And that filter is what we can call as mindset. Each one has got a unique mindset. Everything is unique. And this filter cannot be switched off. Only when we die, the filter can be switched off. Otherwise, there is no possibility of switching off the filter. The next important fact which I learned is that the mindset is the source of predictions which are done in real time by our subconscious mind. Again, this is something interesting. If you want, you can go through and read and learn about that. Our entire subconscious is driving us to behave. In many cases, some of our, what should I say, experts and wise people have prepared stories which talk about the subconscious being some kind of a Hanuman who needs to be woken up, and he's always there, very powerful, infinitely powerful, but is not really doing anything at all. But subconscious is doing something. Subconscious is continuously giving predictions as to what should happen. And this has been scientifically proven through what is called as readiness potential, wherein 500 milliseconds, half a second before we do anything, our subconscious already made it ready. For example, what I'm speaking now, I'm not really putting any effort at all. It is just coming naturally. Similarly, when you speak, you don't keep on looking at the word and forming a sentence and speak. You speak continuously. And that continuous speech happens because the subconscious is preparing what you have to talk ahead of what you really speak. And that's something which is phenomenal. And this 500 millisecond is happening in real-time basis. Imagine, I don't think there is any computer in the world can do such a marvelous job. And our conscious mind comes to know of the 200 millisecond before for any response so that we can stop it. We cannot change the response. We can only stop it. Now, this can be done possibly by sages and munis and all that, very learned people. So therefore, our mindset, which drives these predictions, is very, very powerful, which is driven by the subconscious. Defines the way we are perceiving the reality. Whatever we say, eye or ear or nose, whatever we see is again based on the mindset. Then the way we are thinking, how are we connecting dots? If I look at two different objects, the way I connect and think about these two objects is 100% different than what each one of you would think, because your mindset is different. And this is something which is very, very essential. And that's the diversity of humanity which exists in this planet Earth. And the way we are deciding also. How do we decide? Your decision making is not the same as mine. Each one decides in a different way. And even the decision making is again done based on a forecast, based on a projection, based on a prediction. And finally, our actions are also based on the mindset. We act based on the mindset. So mindset is the key. You have to change the behavior, change the mindset. Now, the same thing applies even for teams. Teams comprise of people with unique mindset. You can see that there are people with unique mindset. They come together as a team. And in this team, they also have experiences. Now, if I tell you that when you go to a group of people from your school days, you behave differently. You go to the group of people from your work days, behave differently. You go to the family get together, you behave differently. You're not putting any effort at all because that particular group, that particular team has evolved a culture. I call it as culture, a way of behaving. And this entire thing happens based on that framework. That framework is something which you can call as culture. These teams collectively also develop a unique framework or culture. Based on that, you are behaving there, which is again leading to predictions. Based on the predictions, you are behaving. So now, if any change has to be done, it's important that we do discussion and debates on contextual topics. Why contextual topics? Because we want to bring about change on only those topics that is important to us. Therefore, contextual topics to the context that we are working on. And based on that, the mindset gets changed. This is the core essence of doHow. This is the essence of the way we built up our entire platform. Now, why are we doing this? Execution is still a challenge. I think all of you can understand and agree to this. If you look at it, there are two recent reports. Earlier, they're talking about 85%. Now, so one survey says that 90% of organizations fail to execute their strategy successfully. Other organization says 85% implementation fail because 2/3 of the strategic objectives are not met. So execution is still a challenge. That is why we are active in this space. And it is something which is industry agnostic. And what we do is address these 5 areas, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the same sequence. And how we do that is simple. We have a model where every 2 weeks we work for about 2 to 3 hours. During this time, it's a very intense activity. There could be an assessment done, presentation done, workshop done, simulation, gamification, progress review can be done every 2 weeks. And then in between that, we have an app in which the practice activity is deployed to the participants so that they work offline and we can monitor remotely and create the scoreboard to see who is doing well, who is not doing well. So build a competition in between the team itself to get them to perform better. This is the app. This is the way it looks like. This is an app developed in Zoho Creator. And in the app, we start with attendance. This is a very, very important thing to make sure that punctuality is ensured. Then show the scoreboard. After that, describe the content. It could be any Office file, PDF, or YouTube. Then have a possibility of a survey, poll, case study, simulation, activity. Anything can be done here. We need to only plan it ahead so that the entire program runs through in 3 hours, very, very in a very, very disciplined, structured way. Then we conduct a quiz. We have got multiple quiz options again to get people to energize, to get them to start thinking. And after every answer, there is a takeaway that also gets concluded. And then we do an assessment, which could be individual, team, and consensus. Like I said, individual would be my own opinion. Team is my team's opinion along with evidences. Consensus is when you do a debate and a discussion along with the team, you come to the consensus solution. Consensus assessment. And then we have individual tasks for the game which I showed the earlier slides. Again, there is a takeaway, collective task, there is a takeaway, and there could be a file uploaded and remarks. This is the entire thing in the app. And on the other side, right side, you see, we can then define what kind of modules they need to do as a homework, what tasks that needs to be done, where we can review, refine, and define a task, plan due date, etc. Then define a homework routine, which is common for all the participants, which can be a checklist, text, image, or audio, or a video. And define a homework metric. This is again a KPI, key performance indicators, wherein they have to enter, it could be number of prospecting per day, could be number of sales, could be sales done per day, or it could be delivery, it could be quality, whatever it is. And then have an audit. See, this entire thing is also necessary because without audit, all this, what I spoke in the top, will not work, because in any company, audit is mandatory. The larger companies, audit is so intense that you cannot imagine. The companies with at least about 250, 300 people in the audit department, large companies. Right? So audit is very, very important, frequent audit. And based on the audit to learn. It's not about criticizing or complaining to anybody. It is basically to ensure that whatever that has been defined and agreed upon is followed. This is the workbook. And apart from the workbook, once the workbook is done, then we implement the doHow app. doHow app is basically something similar to a policy deployment, which starts from setting up the targets, to understanding the mark, establishing the common understanding, to making reports and learning, etc. Comprehensive organization-wide, what should I say, learning platform. It's not clearly LMS. It's basically for organizational learning. It's a PDCA platform. And that is based on the doHow Smart Lean Performance System. This looks a little complex. The earlier one was simpler because here all the elements are shown in the Lean Performance Management System. So with this, what we have been doing is basically trying to work on common understanding, strategy development, execution planning, monitoring, reviewing, problem solving, and dialogue, which in my opinion is the essence of execution excellence. So thank you so much for listening to me. I think I must have overshot my time. So please.
Yes, Dinakar. Yes, you indeed overshot the time, but however, it was quite interesting. Now we come to the important and interesting part of our sit chat session. This is where we've got a lot of questions, and that is what we seek here a clarification for. Now, I throw open this part for people to ask questions to Dinakar. May I request to raise your hand? Yes, if you're shooting, please go ahead. However, introduce yourself as to what you're doing and straight away come to the question. Who would want to go ahead?
Or you're most welcome to criticize also. It could be.
Okay. If nobody is asking, I have got a list of questions. Though I spend day in and day out with Dinakar, I still have got a lot of questions. But I am waiting for somebody else to take this turn, Dinakar.
I will,
Anyway,
I
I
will
will be
ask.
asking.
I will
So
ask. I'll begin, sir.
please, Amarji. Please go ahead, Amarji.
Good evening to all. Dinakar sir, a fabulous presentation for the industrial world, how it works. The biggest challenge you have faced, how to change the mindset and improve production. What is the difficulty you have faced in that, sir?
The biggest challenge is people, first of all, believing in themselves. People don't believe in themselves. And second is to be able to look in from a different perspective. See, for every challenge, there is a solution. And unless the guys are ready to look from a different perspective, it won't change. So the basic job of a leader in industry setup is to make sure that his people are constantly ready to look in a different way.
Very good, sir. Thank you.
And that is a core. If that can be done, then you create magic. Because manufacturing is simple. You only have to repeat a particular job continuously and make sure that thousands of people are doing the same thing regularly.
Yeah. How far is this robotics making a change in the industrial world, sir?
Yeah, see, traditionally, robotics was mainly used for any operation which is highly quality sensitive or safety hazard is there. So that usage has been there in the industry for a long time now. Whenever it is quality critical or safety hazard, then robotics has been there. So my entire career has been with Bosch, executive corporate career. So we used to use a lot of robots even in the 90s. I'm talking about 90s, when I was in Germany, we used to use robots and we used to use a lot of artificial intelligence, all these things, but without these wordings. They were simply called as machine learning or something like that. But we had IoT, we had all those things all those things were there. But today, if you see any menial activity, any repetitive activity gets a human being boring. Therefore, the productivity is not high. So those places, it makes sense in going in for robots because robots have become cheaper. So it's finally the economics. If you are able to make sure that it is cheaper to work with a robo than employ somebody and re-employ somebody, and you have to look at all the costs. Every time you employ somebody, you have to give some money to the headhunter. Then again, attrition is there. All that cost, if you add up, and then if it is cheaper to go in for a robo, please do go in for a robo. That is one side of the story. Second side of the story is the technology. Is the psyche of the OEM. See, I have a client who only has a very clear strategy of continuously delivering 100% on time in full with zero defect consistently. And the next strategy is to invest in technology. That's all. Only two things are there. So his business is growing almost 40-50% a year. Every year, year on year, 50% growth is there. Because the customers perceive that company as some company which is able to deliver consistently good quality. Yeah. And at the same time is future oriented because they're investing in technology. So from the customer perspective, from a symbolic perspective, going in for robos, though they are not that let us say beneficial as in a developed country, it could also make sense in the Indian context.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay, Dinakar, I have this question for you. Now, you spoke a lot. You spoke in about your experience in the 3 continents. Now, I would want you to connect the culture of these 3 continents versus the culture. A lot about excellence in manufacturing. Now, my question is more to do with how are we as a culture with startup, and for we in the startup fraternity, what should we do particular for excellence?
Yeah, if you look at the 3 cultures, the German culture is something which is very, very structured. Germany has a very strong past. It is something like in our country. In Germany, if you go to live in the German society and want to get integrated into the German society, immediately it won't happen. Similarly, if somebody comes to India and they want to get integrated into the local society in a small town, it won't happen. They're always considered as a foreigner. That kind of a freedom will not be there. Because we have a lot of very, very strong cultural roots and there is a strong history. Whereas the same thing in Brazil, you go there, everybody are more or less foreigners because the country is only about 300 years old, similar to US. You go there and within no time, you're already integrated in the society. No, there's not such a big difficulty. So because of that, in these two countries, if I say US or Brazil, the readiness to accept change, readiness to try out something new is quite high. Whereas in the German context or the Japanese context, the readiness to try something new is not very high. Because they're used to whatever that they have got really good. They have perfected over so many years. So readiness to try is not something which is very, very high. And therefore, the struggle a startup has in these countries to succeed will be much higher than in India, than in Brazil or US. In the Indian context, one side we have both the challenges. One side we have got a challenge in terms of the readiness to succeed. Even in India, it is the same problem. In Germany, the readiness for somebody to take a risk and then invest in a startup or let us say get a startup to supply some product to you is not very high. Similarly, in the Indian context also, they would not be that interested unless it is a really big game changer. So therefore, the support from the customers for a startup in the Indian context and the German context is not very high. On the other hand, the amount of difficulty we have in India when we grow up, whether it is the way the roads are planned, amount of potholes you have got, the traffic, way people drive around, or the way the electricity is provided to villages or the rural life, the difficulties are phenomenal in India. Therefore, as we grow up, we are intuitively capable of doing jugaad. Jugaad is part of our DNA. Okay. So therefore, on one side, we have got a fantastic potential of doing new products, new ideas in a market which is not ready to take the risk for such new ideas and new thoughts because of the heritage and because of the culture. Therefore, in my opinion, we should really look at such markets where they're ready. You go to a market like in Germany, like in US or in Brazil, those countries which were relatively new, and make your products capable to succeed in those markets. That I think should be the secret of success. Then the success rate of Indian startups will be much, much higher.
Okay, Dinakar, now you mentioned during your conversation about the mindset. Now, forget the contents, forget the countries. If you could only focus and talk to us about the mindset of startup. Now, I'm not talking about manufacturing. I'm not talking about these Swiggy, Zomato kind. Okay, I'm just talking a plain word called mindset. What comes to your mind with mindset and the startup fraternity? What we have. If you want to be very specific, I'm talking about what is your opinion about the startup mindset in SIT?
No, I think, see, first of all, the readiness to experiment. What is a startup guy? A startup, there are one very key differentiator one has to understand. See, startup is trying to find a solution to a existing known or an unknown problem. That is a startup. Entrepreneurship is somebody who's starting a business. Both are starting a business. Startup also is starting a business. Both are starting a business. Entrepreneurship is something where you are trying to build a business on a known solution with maybe some differentiator or even without differentiator. But the key thing is there is a solution already available in the market for that problem. And that solution is already being used by the consumers. So you want to now give another alternative for that particular problem with another solution, another path. So that is entrepreneurship. So, and startup is where you're trying to find a solution to a problem which is either not existing or which is not known. So if you look at that as the basis, the number of people who would call themselves as startups in our SIT group and also in the Indian context would possibly be very, very minimum. You can maybe count them in the hand, where you're trying to find a solution to a problem which either exists in the market or not even exists, but for that there is no solution available. So therefore, for those people, the key is to, first of all, come to a solution which is workable. That's the first step. Then you look at all the other things, right? So there, the focus has to be not networking, focus has to be not participating in sit chat. I'm really happy that very few people participate here. But their focus is to be only in finding a solution to that problem. That's all. And once the solution is available, all the other things will fall in place. Here, we have got a lot of startups who are in the space of entrepreneurship, but call themselves as startups. And therefore, their main focus is to generate funds, get market, because they already have a solution. No, it's not that they don't have a solution.
Now, with that, I just want to bring your notice to what Namrata has written in the sit chat. Not every product fit in market.
Absolutely true.
Namrata, could you come online?
Absolutely true. That's
Namrata,
impossible
you
to
got a
have
very
a product
valid point.
fitting into all markets.
In fact, Namrata, before you joined, what I told the people who had joined was, sit chat does not start just because Dinakar joins or just because Sagar joins. Even if it is okay that Dinakar doesn't join or Sagar doesn't join, it is Namrata who does the Om Shri for our sit chat. That is the reputation what you have got for sit chat. Okay, kudos to you for your this repeatability or consistency in participating. Thank you over there. Namrata, I want you and Dinakar to discuss about that very interesting comment what you put, because Dinakar brought in a point of entrepreneurship. We are actually 90% entrepreneurs, but I don't know what are we doing in startup. Are we startup is what Dinakar brought a very, very strong point. And to that you add, before you kind of read his mind in telling not every products. Could both of you please discuss on that point? Go ahead, Namrata. Explain why you had to put that. What made you put that point?
Because there may be some products which are relevant in many markets, but some products are specific, region specific. Like, for example, you cannot sell blankets in a place where there is scorching summer. I mean, Razai. It has to be a place where there is a winter.
Absolutely.
So geographically and
absolutely.
even culture-wise, Indian food you can put in a hotels or any franchisee. Indian food you can place only where people where there is Indian community or there is a craze for Indian food. Or some foreign food you cannot put it in a place like Chandni Chowk and expect to get a full-fledged
No, absolutely, very true.
business.
See, for example, in India, there are a lot of innovations which are only Indian. For example, there is an innovation to keep the baby in the incubator. See, when the baby is born premature. Then in a big hospital, you have an incubator where you can keep the baby in the incubator. Now, in a rural area, incubator is not there, first of all. And the second is the power may not be there. That means you may have an incubator, but then power fails means it's gone. So there is a very simple blanket innovation in India. It's an Indian innovation. I don't know the name of the company. They are in Malleshwaram somewhere. They were the ones who invented that product. There you basically wrap the baby around a blanket and there is some kind of a heater there. So the temperature, humidity, everything will be maintained. And that is not necessary in US, because there they've got power in the incubator is not a problem. Or, for example, vaccine. In India, you got a specific need that the vaccine has to be transported to the remotest village, wherein the temperature variation cannot be more than 2 degrees is what I understand. Then the vaccine is of no use. So the control has to be done very, very closely. So for that, there is an innovation of a very small kind of a vaccine transporter. It's a small vaccine transporter, which possibly is only used in India and maybe in some parts of Africa. So the market need not be for common, what should I say, a simple product. Even for complex products, markets are definitely different. It cannot be the same product for every market.
Yeah. Yes, Dinakar. Before we move on to Bharti, unmute yourself. Bharti has a question.
Yeah, sure. Please go on.
Bharti is from Mumbai. She is into business of apparels. She creates these uniform kinds and designer wears for Mumbai market, and also she is exploring elsewhere. Bharti, we're waiting for your question. Can you unmute?
He says, please unmute.
She's asking me to unmute. No, you can unmute yourself. I have to ask you to unmute.
Okay.
Oh,
Hi.
you have to, yeah.
Okay. Am
Go
I
ahead,
audible? I'm
Yeah, very
sorry.
much.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes,
Hi,
Dilip,
Dinakar sir.
Dilip
Happy
का आवाज
Diwali to
सुनाई
all
दे
of
रहा है.
you. Can you hear?
Yeah,
Actually,
please go on.
Yes.
thank you. So I just wanted, you said two words which stuck on my mind, mindset and entrepreneurship and startup. So startup is solving a problem. I mean, finding a solution which is not available. Now, my question to you is very simple. I'll not be able to define whether we are entrepreneurs or startup, but my problem is something like, so as a business owner and a medium size or a small size entity, we are mostly focused on, on our own personal strategies and the personal business or the personal solution. So whatever solution we have found, we become very passionate and very attached to it, and we prefer, or maybe we try to only network so that we get more out of, how to get more people to take my solution. It's always I, me, myself, I, me, myself, and we get into this loop. So we forget, or rather we avoid even such meetups for that matter at times, because we feel, Arey, what value we'll get? We are a very small entity. We have to be like in a firefighting mode every day, and पहले धंधा कर ले, बाद में सोचेंगे कितना networking करना है. So what suggestion would you give how to get out of this, so that we do have a third eye perspective? Yeah, that's my question.
See, if you are looking at a situation of that kind, in my opinion, if you are a startup, then that kind of a question doesn't arise at all, because the solution will be only your solution in the world. Then you are a startup, because for that particular market need, there is no solution available in the market. There is no solution available in the world. So yours will be the only solution. So you don't get into that kind of a dilemma. Whereas when you are getting into entrepreneurship, you have to differentiate yourself. Otherwise, how will you enter? Your entry strategy has to be different. Like the case of Jio, where they gave Jio SIMs free of cost for almost 1 year, and then they started charging money. And now I think they're cash plus, because they charge good amount of money. Now the question is, what is your strategy to enter the market? And that is your own unique way. That's the differentiator. Therefore, you have to basically promote and stick to your solution, because that's the one that gives you the differentiator. At the same time, in my opinion, it is prudent to keep an eye on the other solutions also, because your objective is to gain the market and to sell that particular product or a service for which you have a solution. Now,
Yes.
if you only stick to your solution and your solution is not something acceptable by the market, then it doesn't make any sense in just going round and round in circles. You could do that, provided you are the only one in the world who can do that.
No, sir,
I'll
I
give you an
think
example.
maybe I
I'll
can
give you
I
an
give you an
example.
example? Can I
See,
ask you?
sometime back in iPhone, they introduced what is called as a pinch zoom. iPhone introduced iTunes. Nobody had iTunes. Nobody had pinch zoom, right? And they were pricing iPhones exorbitantly high those days. And even today they do that, because they're constantly creating solutions which nobody else have in the world. Then whether they need it or not, nobody knew that a pinch zoom would be required. Okay, that was not a need at all. Now it's become a standard activity in all the phones, So it's important to understand that when your solution is the only solution in the market, then it is important that you stick on to it. But when your solution is one among the various solutions in the market to meet a need.
My question is a little different, I guess. Hello?
Yeah, please go on.
So my question is different. We understand that our whatever solutions we are building up since such a long time is unique. That is not a problem. My question is that as a founder.
No, hold on. What is the need you are meeting with that solution? What market need are you meeting with that solution?
So basically, yeah, there is a huge potential in the market for the mid-size segment of retailers. Nobody has yet tapped that particular market, the direct retailer. So there is a wholesaler, trader, and distributor. This channel is already there available in the market. And B2C or D2C is also available in the market. Plenty of e-commerce and Shopify, all that stuff. However, there has been no effort into building up an ecosystem for the mid-size. So like small boutiques, small retail shops, and that too, which are available globally. So like small shop owners, they also require designer product.
No. Hold on. See, you are assuming that this small shop owner doesn't have a solution to his problem. His need is what? His need is to purchase some merchandise and resell it. So today, there are ample solutions available in the market where he can purchase and resell. Yours is not the only solution. So you look at it that way. Moment you are trying to segment and say that for that segment, mine is the only solution, then you ask the other question, can that segment survive in the market today? How are they buying it? They already have a solution to buy the merchandise. So there is no uniqueness in that. So first of all, since there is no uniqueness, you have this difficulty of the situation which you just now described. You need to really get into a unique space. That is what startup is all about. In this case, also you can call yourself as a, in terms of wording, startup is okay.
Sir, I think I'm not able to put it in the right word. I will very simply give you an example. So what we are doing, we understand. My only question was, when you say about mindset of a founder or a startup person who is building a solution. So already we did a market study, we have buyers and everything. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about how do I come out of this? So this we do day in, day out. We are building a solution, we are selling a solution, we are building a solution, selling it to the market. Now, what happens? Because slowly it takes you down with you, that you get self-obsessed with your solution, your company, your buyer. So we stop looking out what others are doing. So I'll give you a small example which I saw. So Cadbury chocolate, you know, those toffees, 1 rupee toffees, there was a big business happening. However, nobody, neither Cadbury nor Nestle nor that Pan Pasan, that 1 rupee toffee, you remember, we used to get at chota stalls and shops. That was a big, huge profit-making entity for all the companies who were doing it. Unfortunately, they never saw digital payment platforms coming in, which actually killed the market of Cadbury, those 1 rupee toffees. The whole market was relying on cash transaction. When they didn't have change, they used to give that 1 rupee toffee as the change. However, they were hit by a very different technology, because they could never see what was coming, what hit them. Nobody understood that digital payment can also be a direct competitor to a toffee selling, making company. So that is where I'm coming from. All and in today's world,
I think we can take it offline, but I want to just share my opinion. I'm definitely not a wise guy in that space. My opinion is that as a entrepreneur, if you start trying to find a solution to the customer's need and stop selling your product or a service, then you would not have a mindset. You can change the mindset very quickly. See, you are trying to sell your solution. That's the reason why you are totally in that kind of a rut of constantly improving, evolving, day-to-day activity, etc., but not really looking at what's happening in the market. Moment you say that, look, I don't want to really sell my solution, but I want to find a solution to the customer's problem. And then the mindset change will naturally happen.
Absolutely.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. We have overshot even the time limit of 9:30, and that is what happens when the master takes over and we have a mastery session. I'm sure quite a lot of others have got other doubts to talk to Dinakar. You're always free to get in touch with Dinakar and seek his wisdom. Okay, and I wish you all the best. Dinakar, thank you. Before I wind off, अमर जी आपको बस मिलते हैं 30 सेकेंड वाइंड ऑफ एज यूजुअल करने के लिए.
Thank you, Dinakar sir, for a wonderful session today. An eye-opener how innovation could be successful. Number one, you spoke on mindset and culture. I think so is a very important factor of today's entrepreneurship, where you need to be successful. We need to be constantly engaging people empowering them, collaborating with them, and then celebrating. I think so that is a success to any industrial entrepreneur or a business person. I think so very well projected program today. I look forward to listening more from you, and I wish you all the best, sir.
Thank you.
Fabulous.
Thank you. Thank you, Amarji, and thank you all. Bharti, you can always get in touch with Dinakar. Okay?
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you, sir. Dinakar, sir. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you,
Bye.
Dinakar.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye. Dinakar, you can stop.